All right. Welcome to Bciu University 104. This is a little bit of a review of some things we've gone over, so there's quite a bit of time built in for questions, which is good when it comes to SEO. So, to start with, Samantha,
Yes.
what does SEO mean?
Search engine optimism.
Optimization.
Optimization.
I like optimism better, though. I'm not going to lie. So again, like I said, some of this is review, but we're just going to really drill in and build foundations here. So search engine optimization is the organization of a website, and it affects its visibility on search engine pages. And David Buck, what's a search engine?
Google, Bing,
Right.
Yahoo.
Even Yahoo. Even Ask Jeeves is a search engine. Anything that you can go and search and bring up a series of websites that match your search words. So just a quick look at our search traffic and where we get the most search traffic from. As David said, even Yahoo, which is our slimmest little piece of the pie here. Bing is also pretty small and has been shrinking kind of universally over the last few years. And the bulk of our traffic, more than 75% from search traffic, comes from Google. We do trend for some. Ask Jeeves is one I brought up. AOL has some search engines. There's also like Google Australia, Google New Zealand, Google Europe. We trend for those, but in no way, shape, or form as much as Google.com, Bing, and Yahoo. So they're our biggest across the board. So the goal with search, as far as what we do on our end with stories, tags, etc., is to have more of our stories rank higher when somebody does a search. And, it's also, and I have this in here, and it's kind of interesting to have sites like Drudge, Smoking Gun, At Breaking News, Fark, and Yardbarker pick up more of our stories. Now, when they pick up a story, it's not related to search, so I don't want to confuse you guys there. But these sites look at the same things that, like, the Google Spider does. So if Drudge is going to pick up a story on the Animas River spill, they're going to look at who is closest to the scene, who's the expert, who's going to have the most information, the most depth of knowledge, and kind of all of these sites do that. Breaking News is that and whoever the hell is the fastest. I mean, they are whoever's quick, go. We don't have too many opportunities. Yardbarker is basically Drudge for sports. So is it still popular? I'm not a big sports person.
What's that?
Yardbarker?
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Okay.
It's getting bigger and bigger.
So if we can get something trending on there, that's great. So how do we make that happen? I think if you guys remember, I talked about how Google has about 300 plus things in their algorithm that determine exactly how things trend when you search for them. We're going to focus on 11 of those, and they're the 11 that, hit, I do need one. Oh, sorry. There are these 11 things that hit news organizations that we can really control. And so we're going to go through what I call the Google 11. It used to be the Google 10, but I've changed it. So the first one is anchor text. And this is something we can't really do right now, but we're working on changing text so that we can. And anchor text is where you take a word, so let's say Shane Benjamin, and you go in, and within Saxotech, you create a hyperlink. And so once this is actually working, we'll have training on it. But you can highlight it, click a button, and then a window will pop up, and it'll say, what's the URL, and what do you want it to say? So you could have Shane Benjamin go to facebook.com/whatever Shane Benjamin's Facebook page is, or, check this out on Google and hyperlink Google to google.com. So the fact that we can't do that right now is actually really hurting our search engine results, unfortunately. So that is one of the biggest, an anchor link is one of the biggest ways to drive search. So we're going to get that fixed and we'll move forward. The second thing on my Google 11 is links that come into the site, and they're called incoming links. I think we've gone over this a little bit before, and that's when, let's say Brandon does a story on trail running extreme athlete Anna Frost. So then Anna Frost goes to her website and puts a link that comes to ours. That's an incoming link. Somebody that's linked to our site. Now, within those incoming links, .gov and .edu links are considered superior by search engine crawls, and that's because it's harder to get those URLs. You have to be literally an authority in whatever you're doing to have a .edu or a .gov extension. Does that make sense? All right. The next thing is external links, and we do these really well. These are often the breakout boxes that we have that say, see more information on BLM, go to blm.com, or so we do a lot of those, and we do those really well. Links to our site are just links on other sites. They're, it's not just, obviously, incoming links are part of that, but on Facebook, any social media, that also helps. And the times that articles are posted. So Google, for Google News in particular, looks at the most recent posts. So let's say that the Animus spill what time did the Animus spill kind of first get reported on by us? Anybody?
August 6th.
No, like 3, let's say 3 p.m.
Probably about 10:30, 11 a.m.
Oh, really? So let's say we have something online at 11 a.m. We don't update that story at all until at night. That means that basically, so we post the story at 11, we're the experts, we're the first ones with it. So then the Denver Post comes in, and then Grand Junction comes in, and then San Francisco Chronicle picks it up, and all these people are posting, even if they're posting our story that moved on the wire, they're posting it after us. So Google, even though they're further away from the actual scene of the incident, Google sees them more as the authority because they've posted something more recently. And so that's why when you have breaking news, you want to continually update it so that even if you're updating that same story, it kind of goes up the chain.
Have you seen the wiki entry on the Animus, on the Golden?
I haven't.
They cite as their sources the New York Times and the Denver Post. We're not in there at all.
Well, then I will go change that.
And I think the San Francisco Chronicle's in there too.
San Francisco Chronicle ranks very well for the Animus River spill, which is interesting. So the other thing about times of stuff, and this is like when we're posting a bunch of shit at night, you guys have all seen our traffic starts to peak about 6:30 and then goes, and the internet in general, as far as news goes, really kind of follows that same like peaks when people first get to work or first leaving for work, over lunch hour, over dinner hour. Obviously, those times are different worldwide because people are in different time zones. But Google does the same thing. It tends to peak at those times. So if we're posting all of our content at 12 a.m., which we do tend to do, we're losing that expertise based on time. Because when people come to the site at 6 a.m. or go to Google something at 7 a.m., our content looks 7 hours old, which is fine if we're the only ones with it. But if it's the Animus River spill and we put it up at midnight and other places have posted between midnight and 7, they're going to trend above us because we look like our information's dated. I think I explained that. Okay. It's also good to stagger stories throughout the day. 1, because we're updating our audience, but 2, because the Google crawl looks at how often you update stories. We're awesome at that, so no worries there. So the length of an article also impacts how the Google algorithm looks at your site. What they consider a good article is something that has at least 250 words in it. So across the board for newsrooms, newsrooms are pretty fine. Some places do what's called page stuffing, and they create 1 million pages that have 1 or 2 words on them. And that's what you would do if you ever got busted for something and wanted to bury the search results. That's what you'd do, is create about 1,000 pages that have just, your name on them, and that's it. That was way too much information there, sorry.
What's that good for?
It's good for pushing results down. So let's say something terrible happens and you get busted for something that you don't want people to see when they Google your name. You create all these kind of fake pages to push it down. So often if you'll Google somebody and you see a bunch of fake pages like that, they've paid a company to do that. Totally off topic there, sorry guys. Keywords on pages are really important. So keywords on pages, there's a couple different ways that we attach keywords to a page. There's meta tags, which none of you ever see, and they're created when the site's created, and then they should be tweaked every 6 months to a year. Ours are pretty old and pretty bad. I think our first ones are like local breaking news, which means nothing if you're searching for Durango news. Plus, people don't tend to search breaking. We all, as news people, think people search breaking. They don't. So we'll be tweaking those as we get the new website rolling. The other keywords on a page are pulled from your title tag, which is pulled from your headline in a newsroom. And then there's different metadata based on, your article, and it's really like the hierarchy in a newspaper. Your headline, becomes your title tag. Your subhead gets more precedence is the wrong word, more oomph than your story. But every word in your article counts as a keyword. It's just some get a little bit more weight in the algorithm. So headlines, they are really important. We're going to delve into headlines like no tomorrow next week, and what makes a good SEO headline and what makes a bad SEO headline. So we'll delve into that. So bring your headline questions next week. Like I said, geography, your proximity to the event that occurred. Michael may write a kick-ass story about Mir crashing into the ocean near Japan, which is like a decade and a half out of date, but whatever. And because we're in Durango, Colorado, that's not going to rank really anywhere because he's not, closer to Asia where it's actually happening. I don't know where I pulled that one out of, by the way. Freshness of content, so that's how often you update it again. And rightfully so, anybody who's Googling something wants to see the latest news. And the way Google algorithm does that is by pulling the timestamp on the article. So the more you update something, the better it is. And then how dynamic the content is. So if it's just, like when we have breaking news, 3 dead at Anima City Park, right? So we hear that on the scanner, the dispatcher's voice cracks, we are sure that is real, right? And so we probably won't say 3 dead, but we'd say, shooting reported, Anima City Park, police on their way, reporter and photographer on their way. Check back to DurangoHerald.com, right? So that's a shitty story for search. It's like 1 sentence, 2 sentences, there's no art, there's a headline, that's it, right? So we come back and we continue to update that so we rank better for that. Jerry tweets a photo, we grab that, we put that in, we become more dynamic. We get a video because Sean's headed over there too because it's crazy. Shane files 12 graphs. Like as we're building this content, not only is the timestamp making us more effective on Google, but all of the stuff that we're gathering does. We find out who the guy is that did it. We go down, we get his arrest report, we put that up as a PDF. All of these things that are coming in show Google that we're an expert. And if you think about it from an outsider perspective, not some complicated math problem, it's what we do, and we all know that the more pieces and parts we have, the better the story is. So it's just a different way of kind of looking at it. And then the algorithm looks at about 290 other things that we do not need to care about. So I think 11's enough, myself. So, and I've gone into this a little bit before, but we're going to go into it more. And people used to search kind of by topic. And they'd be okay scrolling through the results because we were kind of, thrilled to be able to search anything, let's be honest. And now we're just smarter about how we use the internet and how we use search. So I use pizza as an example. You used to look at pizza and then you'd scroll through and you maybe would find what you wanted. Maybe you'd get lost in the world of pizza. Now, if you would do pizza delivery Durango, Colorado, or you might even do pizza delivery Durango, Colorado, home slice, Main Avenue. We're getting that specific that we know what we want. We just need to look it up. So, what are keywords? Dive into this a little bit. The meta tags, and those are the tags that I was talking about that are inherent in the site that you can't see. And I will tell you, they are tedious to come up with. We just came up with them for Adventure Pro, and for Brandon's little site, it's tiny compared to the Herald. I think I have 250 pages with meta tags, something like that. So it can get pretty minutia, and you guys don't ever want to deal with it. Headlines, like we talked about, the words in the text, and predominantly the words that are closer to the top of the story rank a little bit higher. And then the taxonomy that we add to the stories also become keywords. So if you add, and Pat's really good about that on the business stories, adding, what was the one you asked me to add the other day? Taxes and...
Oh, yeah, something taxation and regulation, taxation, something, yeah.
So that's why those taxonomies become really important, because they become keywords used in search. So long tail keywords, and that's what I was talking about with the pizza references. Pizzas is short tail keyword. Pizza Durango, Colorado is a long tail keyword. Pat, give me an example of a short tail keyword and a long tail keyword.
Pizza.
Nope.
No.
Nope. Yeah, I'd say something else.
Taxation.
So what would a long tail keyword be?
Taxation and budgeting.
Kind of. More like taxation in La Plata County.
Okay.
So drilled in a little bit more than just
Okay.
a couple words, but
Okay.
yes, very close.
Property taxation, La Plata County?
Yes,
Okay.
that would be a very, very good long tail keyword that, and one we might trend for. So long tail keywords are where we have wins. We're not going to trend for pizza. We're not going to trend for taxation. We're not going to trend for glitter beards. Maybe. But we will trend for Animas Riverspill Durango. We will trend for Silverton Superfund site. We will trend for La Plata County taxation. And so that's where we really need to look at, and that's where we have wins on search on our website. And I don't know if you guys remember from, I think it was 2 times ago, I mentioned that, we trended at one point for, or maybe it was in the sum, we trended for Rube Goldberg machines, which are the machines where you set up the series of things that fall. And the reason was because Ann had written a story about a local high school that built Rube Goldberg machines, right? So we had something like 4,900 impressions on Google. So people that saw our story because they Googled something and scrolled through. We had 0 click-throughs from that because people weren't looking for Durango High students making Rube Goldberg machines. They were actually looking for Rube Goldberg's machines. And so that's where, those long-tail keywords, and not necessarily, no one really searched that we saw for Durango Durango High, Rube Goldberg machines, but that's what we would have trended for on that story and actually gotten a click-through instead of just somebody seeing the headline.
When you put information in the information field on a photo,
Yes, like a caption?
a caption, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Do those things get, does that become keywords?
It does, yeah. And it's, it's like the story itself. It's less important than the headline as far as the algorithm goes, but it all counts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
One thing I do want you guys to remember is, go ahead.
Are there things that you can put in, keywords that you can add to stories or images or whatever that don't show up on this online?
Those are the meta tags, basically.
Those, we can't, I mean, that's at the base level of the,
No, and that's kind of keyword stuffing.
yeah.
And if Google catches you, they don't really like it, and they will penalize you. Speaking of Google penalizing you, they will penalize you for quite a few things. One thing they really do kind of downgrade you instead of upgrade you. So like the more often you post, the higher you'll be in search results. By penalize, I mean the lower you'll be in search results. So one of those things are click here and check out. And it's so hard because online it's so easy to say, click here to see this photo gallery. Check out this PDF.
Oh, so we shouldn't do that.
You should not do it.
Like on our Facebook teases and stuff like that?
Facebook is a different algorithm,
Okay.
and they're pretty used to that.
Okay.
It's still clickbait, but it's good. It's fine. But on the website, really try to avoid it. That said, sometimes there's not a way around it, and that kind of goes to the second point: is that we write for a reader, we don't write for a computer. So, speaking of keyword stuffing too, like putting Durango in every headline seems like it might be a great idea for search. We're located in the heart of Durango. The majority of our online users are from Durango. At some point, if you put Durango in every single headline, on every single story, our readers start to think we're freaking idiots. So just remember that too. It's good to have this background knowledge about search and how it works, and we want to have SEO be as much of a part of our day-to-day as it can, but we do have, at the end of the day, we have readers, not computers, that are consuming us, and we need to write for a reader.
That doesn't affect on social media, does it? Like when we, see story in Durango Herald on a tweet, things like that does it?
So Twitter doesn't have an algorithm.
Okay.
Facebook does. I don't know all that much about the Facebook algorithm. They tweak their algorithms so regularly and are such brilliant people that I'm not even going to attempt to lie to you and tell you I have any idea how their algorithm works. The only thing I can tell you about the Facebook algorithm is that if you like somebody's post, you're more likely to see their stuff in your feed. That's really about all I can tell you about the Facebook algorithm. It's very different. One thing, I say it's all about timing, and that's what I was talking about, kind of when you post stuff really is important. Being first is important, and then continuing to update is really important. And AP style, not always the best option. I'm trying to think of a great example. I don't know.
COLO period for Colorado.
Yes. And really what you want to do when you're trying to think about SEO, and there are lots of places you can go and put a headline in, and we'll delve into some of those, some of my favorite ones next week. But the easiest way to write a search headline or write something that's search engine optimized is to think about what the hell you would search for. If you want to read, let's say Brandon's thinking, I want to read this story about Anna Frost. What am I going to Google? I'm probably going to Google trail runner Anna Frost or Anna Frost winter running. So that's the easiest way to pick. The easiest way to pick search terms is to think about how you would Google it, because frankly, we're all experts at Googling. We've become that. Maybe not Brandon, but the other way you can do is go to google.com/trends, and what that is, where are we at on time here? We have a little bit of time. What that is a website where you can kind of poke in what is trending. So, see how the internet is in here. So they'll always have kind of the top things that are trending, and if you can ever score for any of these, that's great. It's going to be a rare day that we can trend for something that's doing great on Google worldwide. That's just the reality. That said, you can type in Anna Frost and kind of see how common she is as a search term. I actually did this earlier today. She's not that common. But you can see her popularity has grown along with her career here. And, December, 1 month, she had 100 people search for her name. If we got all 100 people that searched to click through to our website, that I would consider that a total win.
So you could totally type in your own name and find out.
Yes.
That looks like a kind of
It's kind of
How
cool.
about I typed in Gold King?
How do you spell it?
No, we don't need to be doing that. I can do it on my own time. Oh, that's pretty cool, though.
So, Gold King Mine.
back in August 2015.
Yeah, not trending too much. Let's do Gold King Spill. Yeah, not too much. Oh, yeah, that's August 2015. Had 10. So,
How many people?
just 10.
10?
Yeah.
Like 10 million?
Yeah. Just
Try
10.
Try Donald Trump. Let's see what happens.
So, I mean, the biggest time to use this is if you have a story that you think is going to could really blow up. Some of the stuff that Brandon is doing does have some big names in it, and so it's good to look in here and see kind of, gosh, maybe I'm not interpreting these numbers right. Maybe they are much higher than, maybe it is 44 million.
I mean, that shows you where the searches came from.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
Yes.
Here are some of the different queries.
Let me
Chris
do
Hall,
a
when
couple
he-
searches for you first. So
When he worked in the Fort Lewis College Office of Information, they had their computers set up there to when anybody searched Fort Lewis College, it would come right to them.
That's a simple, you can set that up as an RSS feed. Here you can drill in on where you're at in the world. You can drill in on days. So like if you were looking at something that just broke, like let's say the Animus River spill, you'd want to go look at the last hour and see what the hell was trending in the last hour in Animus River spill. Because that can help you write a better headline that'll get you more tweaks, or more hits, sorry, tweaks. So that is Google Trends. And there's like, there are numerous different places to search on what's trending and how it's trending. And Google Trends is kind of one of the most common ones. But if you find one that works great, please let me know, and I'd love to explore it and
Wait,
see if it's something we should be
now, where do
using.
you get to Google Trends? Just from their Google?
Google.com/trends. But I mean, there's a ton of them, and like I said, next week we'll drill in on a headline analyzer a little bit more, particularly for this group that writes headlines on a regular basis. And it's fun to just put them in and see how well you rank on their test. But yeah, so next week, I got lost. All right. Next week we will do headline writing for search engine optimization, and we'll drill in more on that. So please bring your questions. I would just like to get this out there. I am not a search expert. I've been to a few search trainings. I remember the day I learned what a search engine was. I think I was 16. I thought somebody was talking about a machine, which it is a machine, I guess, but I thought they were talking about I was very confused because they were talking about Yahoo and search engines, and I was like, Yahoo is not a machine. So, I have some background. I've been to a few trainings. I don't have some degree in search engine optimization. I'm not an expert. I am always willing to learn more. So if you guys get into this and start nerding out and stumble across something, tell me about it. I am completely interested and always want to learn more.